Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll. We're gonna deflect. DY gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Sagafar is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the 8? They get the 8.
Another beautiful day here means another playoff match here for CGL. It is Season 14, and we have narrowed it down to just 4 teams left in the EU console tier, and it is coming down close between these 4 teams. These Juggernauts are trying their hardest to claim their trophies, and for most of the teams, trying to do it for the very first time. Megalas, it is a fantastic honor to be with you here today. We got a matchup between DYS Budget Approved and Smelvin Industries, and if there's 2 teams throughout this entire season that have met each other and had banger matches, very back and forth, it has been these 2 teams right here.
I was gonna say, Hunter, you, me, Budget Approved, Smelvin Industries. At this point, it's like a quadruple date. I don't know what you'd call that, but yeah, it happens far too often. But it's good that it happens, right? I mean, it's always such chaotic clashes. You never really know what's gonna happen, right? We think back to that iconic mid-season blow for blow, back and forth. Smelvin finally gets a nice little win there. But then more recently in week 8, Budget Approved kind of comes in and smacks Smelvin around for a little bit. So, you really are dealing with some unpredictable factors here. And really, we're just going to have to wait and see how this match shakes out.
Yeah, it's really got to be back and forth. Obviously, the meta has been shifting around more and more. Things seem to be a little more solidified than they were a couple of weeks ago. So, gonna have to see how both the teams are gonna fully adjust. But either way, like we said before, there's only 4 teams involved here in the playoffs here in the EU console tier. It is still going to be double elimination though, so the loser here today will not go home. They will simply jump down to the lower bracket and will have to fight for their life to make their way back and set up a rematch in the grand finals. And Megalas, while it is a lot less matches, I feel like that creates more pressure in a lot of ways, because if you go down, you're not just going up against a weak team that barely made it into the playoffs. You are going up against somebody who fought hard to make their way into the top 4.
Yeah, and I mean, quite literally, to go to lower bracket means that if you want a trip to grand finals, you have to beat everyone else in the bracket. That is a tall order for anyone, really. So, this is going to be one that we watch very closely here. As you see, looking at the bracket, Lunar Falcons already awaiting their opponent in that upper bracket, that winners of finals here. But again, with Budget Approved and Smelvin Industries, you really never know exactly what you're going to get with these matchups. They can be one-sided, they can be barn burners. And like you were saying, the new meta that we've been in, Malga, is officially here to stay, it seems, for a lot of these teams. And that could be the determining factor.
Yeah, it 100% could be. It seems to be the main tank that is being used at this point. There's a little bit of messing around, so people are still trying to make the Drunker Queen work. In some cases, the dive is still very much something you could bring out as well, but the Malga has become a big fixture, and until we get to the end of the season, I don't think it's really going to change in the situation. So it's going to come down to these players to be able to come in and really just try to show that they have perfected this composition, because again, there's not that many choices outside of what works now, and what works to some people might not be fun, but it is the most effective. And when you're in this situation, you don't get many options but to go with what the very best composition is and just hope you can play it better.
And I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head here, especially because we've seen a lot of matchups, right? And how everything has been shaking out. We've seen in other brackets amazing upsets that have occurred because of this meta. And, it's a little bit twofold when you're looking at it, right? Because, we do know, realistically in a couple of weeks, right? I think it's 2 weeks out now, we have season 14 looming, right? If you're one of those teams that maybe Malga isn't your uh, niche, let's say, you pretty much are in a hold on situation, right? You want to win as many games as you can, build up that buffer to buy yourself time to try to get past the Malga meta, assuming it'll go away in 2 weeks. But again, that's a very large assumption, and you're just having to, potentially try to stay the course against this oppressive composition.
Yeah, that's the situation. We've seen times as well where the patch does come through, and some teams take a week or two to actually fully adjust. And sometimes, if it's within a couple of days of that patch, they'll just try to keep running it simply because there's not enough time to learn anything different. There's not enough time to try to perfect what you don't even know what the meta is yet, unless it is just clear as day based on the patch notes. But that's for a different day. We know what both these teams are. We have seen them so many times. We've introduced them multiple times, but Megalas, we're going to do it perhaps one more time for the here today. DYS budget approved. Smelvin Industries, it's going to be a banger. Megalas, we have to meet these teams, and by meet, I mean reintroduce ourselves. This is our third date at this point. Like, it's, I mean, it's fantastic at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we should beat the parents at this point, right? Budget approved, of course, up first. This squad, not, surprisingly, not one of the rosters that's changed up a whole lot throughout the season, right? We've seen a lot of CGL teams mix and match players, but pretty much the same players throughout, right? You got Delta and Bronin on that DPS line, Reno on tank, and then DBRX and Zekpa being those reliable supports here. And budget approved, they like to rely on their players. They do have the little subs they like to make here and there with some of their bench, but overall this squad has been together, and maybe that's one of the key factors in them getting better and better as we go.
I mean, yeah, 100%. And we watched the team obviously perform in that mid-season tournament, doing a really good job. And Delta, who had some absolute pop-off maps as well, hoping to see a lot from them here today as well. But there's a lot of oppression over from this Smelvin Industry squad, hoping to get in and win their very first playoff game. And of course, gotta take a look at them. DPS going to be Mori and Seed Sapdab. Of course, we have VC Jacob over on the tank, and then Zeb and Robbie Hash over on the support line. The support line for me is what really stood out last time I saw the Smelvin Industry squad, being able to stay alive, being able to constantly care for their tank and for that DPS. In this meta, it is an important thing because the supports, especially the Brigade, tend to be the number one target when you're running that Malga composition.
Yeah, definitely. But unless I'm absolutely mistaken, Robbie Hash is normally the one at that tank position here. So I don't know if this is actually a tactical swap or if this is just that these are the players we have here on the day. Because, we haven't seen a lot of Jacob or even Seed for that matter here. So this could be a switch up within this Melvin camp. Again, it could be tactical or it could just be born out of necessity here. But only really we're going to have to wait and see. I think it is going to be good, especially if you have Robbie on that Brigida. A lot of those tank skill sets, the tank mindset, can apply to Brigida pretty damn well. And so we'll just have to see as we go through our map pool here, which, tons and tons of places to go. But if I'm not mistaken, Smelvin did get first pick.
Yeah, it is going to be Lijiang Tower to get this first up, as again that pick has gone through. Now that we are in the playoffs, the higher seed does end up getting the pick here today. And Lijiang, I mean, the amount of times that we've had to introduce Lijiang a map is incredible, but this is again one of those maps where it is going to offer a brilliant sample size as to what these teams are going to run, because you got inside maps that are very brawly, and you have that outside map of Garden where dive is a little more prevalent. But to be honest, there's a lot you can run on these maps, so we should probably see what these teams are comfortable and uncomfortable with pretty early on.
And I think the most flexibility you're probably going to see across Lijiang is going to be in the DPS role, right? You think of Control Center, you think of those niche picks like the Symmetra, the Junkrat can come out. Symmetra really across all of Lijiang is a very niche pick, but one that can get a lot of value, especially if you can give her time, build up that level 3 beam charge, and then she can really start bursting through some of these high sustained compositions that we've been seeing recently. We are starting out on the night market, of course, and looking at the comps, Smelvin currently hovering what we expect, standard sort of meta stuff. Seed obviously hasn't locked in, but budget approved. They might want to try to pave their own path here on the ball comp. This is, very pick comp-esque. I like the confidence in it, but you really are going to have to burst a character quickly. Otherwise, you're just going to fall apart.
Yeah,
Okay, and they immediately switched last second. They realized
they're betting with
it
us.
has to be Melga.
Budget Probe is not happy with us. They decided to bait us at the last moment. But either way, I like how these teams are running more. Going to be over on that Sombra, which is very interesting. Not a lot of teams opt to use that Sombra, but it is important because if it comes down to a 1v1 between Reno and Jacob, it could be as simple as the hack coming out and just being unable to kind of keep yourself up. But Delta going to drop early to get this fight going, and just like that, the fight going to be concluding here quickly. Smelvin Industries going to take a very fast first fight win there. Again, that's the power that the Sombra is really going to have in that situation. You can make you completely helpless. And when you're looking dead straight at a Mauga, there's not a lot you can do in that situation.
Yeah, the Echoes in these fights are always, you know, tasked with the hardest job, right? They almost have to be an individual flanker while still being grouped up with the squad. The Sombra, though, with her recent rework, she's actually allowed to sort of just play with the team, right? She doesn't have to be this crazy flanker. She can just look for hacks in the front line and help her team engage that way. So it'll be interesting to see how this continues to play out.
Yep, see a lot of differences in the ultimate charge here right now. Jacob nearly twice ahead right now. You have Ronan sitting at 80% and counting, try to get up there. Whoever gets that first ultimate fight could be the one to come away with it right now, with Ronan coming up on this copy right now. If they copy onto that Mauga, it could be massive, but Jacob's already down, so there's no copy to be really used on the Mauga anymore. And just like that, Delta 2K gonna wrap things up here. 39% gonna be on the board. Couple of like deaths to finish things off, but importantly, they win that fight without having to expend the copy.
Yeah, no ultimates thrown in on either side just yet, right? Going into this next fight, you're going to have this copy, like you said, from Broden. But the EMP from Mori, this could be a very quick cleanup as long as that translocator comes in and it connects onto as many members of Budget Approved as possible.
Yeah, it's going to catch on to all 5 members, but nobody's dead quite yet. Eventually it'll come through, but Debrix has now used her orbital array. You see Broden trying to find something. Eventually, looks like they're going to find the value that they needed. And unfortunately, as big as that was, unfortunately, they couldn't manage to kind of rile everybody together. Usually you use that when an ultimate comes out like the cage fight, but used it really early there.
Yeah, and I mean, that EMP, it just ultimately, it falls short because of how late it was, right? The duplicate was already out and things of that nature. So now they're pushing forward with a Junker Queen. I mean, they have Orbital Ray to work with, but this Queen is going to be so much more vulnerable than a Malga.
Yeah, Malga's going to go in right away. Going to see if you can find the break in the situation. Robbie Hash does manage to get the ult out, but they can take it out directly after the fact, and now is going to come down to a battle of determination, trying to see if you can out-damage them right now. But right now, seems to be a bit of a struggle as Delta going to be down once again here. Bronan trying to do the hardest to survive out there, trying to see if they can find a target. Drilling them down, unfortunately, it's not going to happen as Reno is honestly running down target after target all by themselves, clearing space, and now 70% on the board. Your best ultimate goes down the drain, and now it again is going to be a race you get the ultimate online, but for Jacob, they are not going to get this before Reno.
And now that's a brutal stagger coming through. Budget Approved stacking back up to their 6 ult, or their 6 ult, where am I at? Their 4 ultimate fight where they're going to be able to use everything, and they're going to just be able to use in the spawn doors, right? Only 10% left on points. Smelvin Industries is not going to have a way in.
Yeah, 100%. We are going to know the point touch is going to be there right now. More going to commit, but the problem is the rest of their team is kind of struggling a little bit back there. It is a 5v4. The point might flip, but at the end of the day, CTAP gets a pick here, and the point's going to flip over, which means now everybody's separated here. It's a rough situation for Ronan, but CSAP just wasn't quite ready for that, but fight is still going to be over. You're not going to be able to win a 3v1 in that situation, but you're going to see them try to get out. Looks like they will be able to get out alive and reset quicker.
Interesting investment, right? Only the cage fight coming out from Budget Approved, even though they had other tools to work with. I guess they just ultimately were waiting. So now that's actually setting Smelvin up. But again, you know, this EMP, to find the value they want, it has to go first. They have to be the initiator before anything else can come out.
Yep, 100%. Ronan gonna have to use the copy just to make sure they stay alive here. EMP is ready. Gonna get used once again. It's gonna catch on to 3 people. And Ty is there. And it's gonna get rid of both of the supports, but the battle's still very much back and forth. CSAP might have to put this on their back here. That ultimate is ready to go here. They have to try to use this, try to find something. It's gonna come out, but it's gonna get diddly squat in the face of Delta. 3K. It's gonna finish out our first round here.
Like I said, that EMP has to be the first thing in the fight, but ultimately, you know, there's already a duplicate out. The orbital ray was already going. That, you know, you can't get rid of that ultimate with an EMP. It's going to continue to persist even after the Juno has been hacked here. And, you know, that is what is allowing Budget Approved to win these fights where, you know, such an oppressive ultimate should be giving them the right of way here. for Smelvin Industries, I will be interested to see if they continue to run this Junker Queen, because they'll have the advantage in these ult fights, right? Obviously, Rampage being such a powerful tool. You saw what the Anti did in that last fight. But again, for the rest of the time, right, when you don't have ultimate up, the Malga just has so much better sustain than you. Better HP pool, better recovery, better ability to be peeled by your supports. I mean, Malga really has it all.
Yeah, that's the kind of situation that Malga was in, where obviously they're kind of an unstoppable force once they start going in this situation. And now, Mori's going to stay over on the Sombra. Again, I think it's been an equalizer in some senses, but it still has to be used correctly. This ultimate still has to find the value, and it has to find the value in stopping ultimates when they come out, not necessarily before the fight fully begins. Either way, this fight is definitely online here. Is Reno just standing in there taking all that damage for free, essentially, as the point gonna unlock in a couple of seconds. And Megalas, it is a struggle for Smelvin Industries to even make it onto this point, but they're gonna have to eventually rush it down, get a touch, create something. But I mean, they're not even gonna touch, but Reno oversteps their bounds a little bit, and we're gonna see the trade coming through right now. The support line gonna get run back a little bit as the point is unlocked. Smelvin Industries trying to take it back, and this fight very much could go either way. But Jacob needs to focus on living, as Megalas, we are gonna have a moment to breathe here.
Moment to breathe, a moment to wait, but look at this. Bronin already is about to be on to a duplicate. I don't think anybody on Smelvin's even aware of this being built up this quickly. Putting that Malga in the fight, or it's actually going to be a Junker Queen, rather, in the face.
Ooh, I love it. I love going for the Queen. You can just run down this backline essentially for free. If you get this ultimate, this fight is essentially over. Going to be a big knife right there. Not going to be able to get the Rampage online, but it is essentially going to end the fight here, as Delta will be able to get out alive. It's going to cap over, only going to allow 25%. As the fight will continue here shortly.
The fight will continue indeed. Budget approved, still having to work towards their ultimates. Meanwhile, Smelvin actually has things online for this fight. But again, they have to be the initiators. They have to be willing to go first.
Ooh, Rally going to be able to keep you up in that situation. Might have been deleted, but Robbie Hash fortunately can't say the same thing there. So they're going to go for it right now. See, it's just helping get rid of two. More though is cleaning these up as Delta tries. Only finds the one. And again, a back and forth affair between these teams. This map right here so far is a prime example of how close these two teams have been throughout the entirety of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, that fight looked close on paper, but that's a fight that Budget Approved will gladly lose any day of the week, right? I mean, you just traded Death Blossom for Death Blossom EMP Rally, now coming into this with a massive ult advantage. As long as you don't all get antied up by the Rampage from Jacob, you're looking pretty good if you're Budget Approved.
And they also just gave away the point essentially for free here. And they're going to go for the ult. Going to catch onto 4 right now with this Rampage. But you need to find at least one. You managed to find one. Reno is going to go ahead and go down with this cage fight. Going to try to find something as the point's going to flip once again here. Fight's very much online, but it's going to be a great stop onto VC. Jacob right now eventually going to get deleted. Robbie Hash has let the ultimate go in the situation. And they have allies coming back to them. But that might be a big mistake here as it's back and forth. Reno is back. Gets sent immediately back to the spawn room, and now it's just Delta trying to hold it down as the rest of the team eventually going to make it back. And it's looking like as back and forth as it has been, Mori is still alive. He's going to be able to help take control essentially once again as it's back and forth. And at the end of the day, Smelvin Industries barely able to hang on.
I mean, yeah, they were able to hang on thanks to Mori using some impressive Sombra Tech to avoid, all that stickies, the focusing beam damage from Bronin there. So now, heading into this next fight, still having the Orbital Ray for DBRX could be massive.
It could 100% be right now. VC Jacob did swap over as well. Going to get taken down immediately as, again, points going to come through. Delta going to get taken out before the ultimate can find its value. But unfortunately, Reno is going to be there to clean things up. And now it might come down to this very next fight. And for both teams, currently only one ultimate on the board, but a couple more getting very close.
Yeah, extremely close. And that's all you need, right? If you can continue to build and continue to put the pressure on Smelvin Industries, right? Make them use these ults a little bit haphazard, almost forcing them out before they're really ready to use them. That's where Budget Approved has been finding their value here. So we'll have to see if they can keep doing it, especially with the CMP looming.
Yeah, they are looking for the support line. They know it's going to come through. EMP going to come out here, going to catch onto the support line. Delta going to follow the process as well. Now it's Everest. Rough scenario, trying to stay alive here. 85% on the board right now. Smelvin Industries wants to try to win this fight without expending anything. No, but Bronan is on the scene, going to get rid of Robbie Hash, but Smelvin Industries ultimately is going to take away this fight. And now for Budget Approved, it is all about setting up the touch.
Yeah, setting up the touch is going to be key here, but Budget Approved also is not working with a lot, right? Like, obviously, cage fight, it sounds super impactful, right? But all you're going to end up doing is caging yourself in with somebody who isn't realistically going to have any way to die unless the focusing beam or the damage comes through from your DPS.
Yep, cage fight is there right now. Gonna send all that damage to Marino. Gets deleted, and here comes Death Blossom. Gonna get rid of 3 to clean things up, and gentlemen, we are going to round 3 here on Lijiang Tower.
And it looks a lot better here, right? Smelvin deciding to be a little more decisive in their fights. Not the cleanest approach, of course, but they managed to get it done, so that's all that matters. And if they could continue to up the tempo, find this confidence, especially on the Sombra comp here, you know, continuing to be that initiator, it's going to fare just better and better for the side of Smelvin, right? Because budget approved, when you have that echo in play, like I was talking about at the start of the game, you have to be, you know, finding these picks. You have to be an initiator in these fights. Now potentially going over to the Tracer, you know, different hero, same situation, right? You have to be finding these picks almost isolated by yourself while the rest of your team is fighting together. It's a very difficult life, something I would never wish for any one player.
Yeah, but I see a couple of changes here. VC Jacob going to be over on the Diva, which can Ultimaga to an extent, and Ronan can be over on that Tracer now, perhaps to kind of give Mori a little bit more attention. Mori did get away with a lot there in that second round, especially going to that backline with those EMPs. But either way, it's all about taking over this point. Smelvin Industries trying to eventually work their way onto this point as budget approved. Very comfortable in this spot as Reno's going to go forward. Going to jump into a lot of damage, getting super low to get these going here as that point has unlocked, trying to open up, trying to see if DYS budget approved can get this thing rolling, as right now VC is kind of just struggling to stay on the point and absorb all this damage. As Reno eventually is going to go down for all that, and the rest of budget proof need to come together, try to find a target, try to go in. Unfortunately, it's going to be so difficult to do so without your tank there, and unfortunately they are eventually going to get pushed off the point, go over. But unfortunately Mori almost bit off more than they could chew, but it looks like Smelvin Industries will be able to secure this first fight fully.
Yeah, being able to get the first cap, and now budget approved actually deciding that the Mauga is not the answer here in the face of the Diva from Jacob, who's just putting a lot of pressure in with that defense matrix. Now goes over to the Junker Queen, right? So, you know, it's going to be still similar style, all in together, trying to get this damage done on the front line. But meanwhile, Smelvin's going to continue to encroach, continue to apply pressure from all angles here, and make it really hard for budget to approach.
Yep, and Reno just gets deleted on the spot, walks right into a rally, cannot get that Carnage out. Unfortunately, fight again, it's just instantaneously over in the situation. Now Smelvin Industries sitting on 4 ultimates right now, and with that EMP, I mean, Smelvin Industries has the opportunity to just make a fantastic cycle of ultimates for the rest of the round.
Exactly, right? Win this with either EMP or Orbital Ray. Win your next fight with the other ultimate that you didn't use. Sprinkle in a Blossom if you need it. Have that debuff bomb that allows Jacob to get a little bit more aggressive because they have a free remech at the ready here. It's looking up for them right now, so budget approved. You know, for them, they got to work with their support ult.
It's another 5k EMP, and the fight is over again before it even truly begins here. They just expend the one ultimate once again, 65% on the board, and while we did see some very messy play during that second round, this is textbook play right now from Smelvin Industries.
Yeah, it looks a lot better. It looks like they're playing the way that they want to play, right? They're being the aggressors, the initiators, not allowing budget approved to really set up or do their own fight plans here. It's just a matter of how they're going to combat this ult bank that budget approved has finally built up across the course of the round.
Right, but there's still a lot that could end this right now. Gonna see come through. Zab gonna try to find something. Walked into a lot of damage, but is it going to find anything? Zab going to be the first one to go down here. And now budget approved. A little bit of back and forth, but they're coming away eventually with this as it's VC Jacob on the point. Not going to use that remech. Wisely going to hold on to it as 99% going to be on the board here. And you look through and you managed to burn 3 ultimates off of budget approved. Smelvin Industries have no reason to be upset with that fight.
Yeah, no reason to be upset, and now you have that 99 check mark, right? Budget approved, they can't afford to give up one single fight. Meanwhile, you know, you can absolutely throw a few fights here because you have all this percentage to work with. You could build up to a bank of ultimates and then just rush it all in at the end, right? The world is your oyster. If you're Smelvin Industries, let's not get booped off the map on Diva.
And not the place you really want to be here, as Mori going to get taken out in that situation. That's an unfortunate way to go out, and now that creates trouble as you're going to fly back. You're going to get pulled back here, but looks like Jacob might be able to live here, has the support still online, so a fast reset should be there, but they get demeched and have to use the bomb just to get the mech back.
Yeah, that's not what you want. These knife pulls have been really good for Reno, right? Being able to isolate targets that really shouldn't be isolated from Smelvin's comp, but constantly, time and again, they're being placed well, and now with a rampage to boot, this could be bad.
Yeah, they're trying to find something right now. Mori sitting super low, have to go inside right now. Jacob does end up getting super low, knocked out of the mech for the second time now, just in this fight alone. And now Delta considering going for it, but doesn't need to, as they're going to clean things up. And now, I mean, now it's getting messy once again for Smelvin Industries. They're struggling to even really do anything in the situation as they're gonna get moved off the point. CZEP tried the hero play. It goes down the drain, and now you just got the EMP in a dream.
I was gonna say, at least they held on to the Death Blossom. They could set this up with the EMP. Now it's just missing after that hero play. That's not what you want. And Smelvin, you know, they're pushing forward here on this right side into the white room, but they're just gonna be met at the doors.
Yeah, but EMP is out. Delta gonna get taken care of, so not gonna have the ult anymore. Ronan gonna see if they can get their own, but they can delete it instantaneously, and now it's just Reno trying to live with the support low right now. Gonna barely be able to make it over to the side, unfortunately. The numbers game has played its factor. They tried to play quick, but they could not beat Smelvin Industries at their own game, and now it's all about trying to set up the overtime touch. It is down to just Delta to try to make it. Unfortunately, not gonna happen after a very close first map. Smelvin Industries is gonna take our first map.
Yeah, I mean, Smelvin, you know, considering how this went last time, we were talking about it, right? That week 8 matchup, budget approved, kind of came in and smacked Smelvin around. This is a much better showing already for their side. Obviously not the cleanest, not the way that they would want it done, but it's getting done nonetheless here, so they can't ultimately complain all too much. You know, and I don't even think it's necessarily misplays or anything going wrong on the side of budget approved. It really is just the nature of control, right? When you're able to build at that much percentage, able to keep the momentum going, especially with how each of those EMPs were coming away as 5-mans, you know, there's just not a lot you can do against an ult cycling comp like that.
Yeah, it's just that kind of situation. And again, we saw what it means to kind of rotate ults in this situation, because we've seen a lot of stuff. We look back at, you know, we just had OWCS finals where a lot of these fights had 2-3 ultimates per fight, simply because it would come down to, oh, wait, they both use the cage fight. Okay, we both use the duplicates to make more cage fights, and then we use the Death Blossoms inside of the cage fights. It was like the process. But some industries found themselves playing faster and only having to use one ultimate because they brought the fight before the fight has even begun. That is what's great about Brawl Comps, is you can initiate fights and force them before your opponent is ready to actually set up and do their thing. So it's great pacing by them. Budget Pro did the exact same thing eventually, but that last fight, it just became too difficult to win. It's an unfortunate situation. But either way, Megalas, no room to breathe in this situation. You gotta keep going, gotta keep fighting, and we're gonna be seeing a lot more of this Malga and Junker Queen, because we are going over to good old New Junk City, my personal favorite Overwatch 2 map. I will die very firmly on this hill.
I mean, at least you'll be dead. That's what I'm going to say to that. But yeah, I mean, the CGL playoff format, in case you've been living under a rock, you don't know what's happening here, why we're heading to Flashpoint. The loser not only gets map pick, but they get mode pick as well, right? So, budget approved. I think this is a very odd choice, if I'm just going to be honest, right? Because I just talked about how it was very ult cycly, and that's what ended up happening on Control, and what gave Smelvin the edge, right? Because they were able to just cycle that EMP. And now budget approved is taking us to a mode and a map where you're essentially going to have to ult cycle. That's how the map is played verbatim, tick for tack, bar for bar. So, a bold move, but I have to wonder what they're going to roll out on, right? Will this be back to the Malga? Will this be some of the Junker Queen? Or will this be some sort of new look in anticipation of potentially the Diva or whatever else have you that Smelvin could throw out?
I think it is going to come back to that Malga and that Junker Queen. And I think why this isn't too bad of a choice, because I think it's easier to take fights early on Lijiang than it will be on New Junk City, at least with the majority of the maps that are involved. So I'm really looking forward to see how Smelvin actually wants to approach this, not necessarily from a defensive standpoint, but how they want to attack points. Because a lot of them can be straightforward, but we look at some of those maps, especially on that right-hand side that are inside, you can go under, you can go above top left, you can go above top right, you can go all the way behind. There's a lot of avenues that you can take and a lot of different ways to take fights, so we should be able to see a lot of variety, as that Duck has, they're just chilling. They're just having a good time.
Listen, like, if I'm that Duck, I'm having a great day. Like, there's all this space on the chair. Like, if I needed to, I could, stretch out. I could, granted, I don't know how much moving a rubber duck is doing.
Oh, they get to watch the fight. They're there. They're in the stands.
Wait, and there's another one on. Wait, hold on.
Oh, what?
It's like when I was gonna say, it's like the player who runs on the field during an NFL game. You gotta get him out of there. They don't want to get hurt. But speaking of a world of hurt, budget approved, they're coming out on the Malga, stuff we expect. The Venture in play is a nice touch, some variants we've seen before. Smelvin, meanwhile, has completely flipped the script. They're still on their Sombra, but with a Zarya Bastion here. So bubbles are probably going to either be selfishly used by Jacob, or they have to go on the Bastion, because that is a very large target to shoot at.
See, sometimes we see this with the Reaper, and you just send ally bubbles onto the Reaper. And that's a fair choice. The problem with this is, though, and it's a problem we have seen many, many times, and the reason why we don't see Zarya much is because when those bubbles go down, that Malga will go in, and that Zarya is going to have a really hard time staying up. And as things are, that point's going to unlock for free. Smelvin Industries right now really trying to make this work, and I'm just really concerned that this might not work, because you can't take the aggression in that easily. You don't have the charge for it. And now you have to hope that you can find something, as Reno will end up getting deleted. A lot of people super low for Smelvin Industries, as Robbie Hash will end up going down. Jacob kind of sitting super low again, doesn't have that, but the ult is online right now. Going to try to find at least one. Need it, unfortunately not going to find it, and now we see Jacob eventually takes Delta down at the expense of their own life, and they will eventually be able to claim the first point. It is a bold strategy, it is a risky strategy, but when it pays off very well.
Yeah, speaking of paying off, I mean, I'm never going to give Seed grief for a missed ultimate, right? Let's just talk about it. Bastion ultimate, one of the worst in the game. Comboing it with a grab might actually make it do something the first time ever. So that could be fun to see. But again, look at this. Reno's just waiting out these bubbles and waiting for the chance to go.
Yeah, I mean, we saw combos all the time with your Reset Bastion ults back in the day. Unfortunately, Mori bit off a little more than they could use. The point's going to flip over. Mori is going to be able to live, though. So now, this is essentially last fight territory, as they got the double takedown for that one. And now, rough situation as Reno's going to run through and take down everybody. And with 70% on the board, Mori's the only person alive going to get taken out. And now a retouch is next to impossible.
And obviously you also have to wait out the Bastion turret for him, because that can be a deterring factor for the Malga as well here. But again, like you were saying, budget approved, they can simply just wait in a lot of these situations. Now they have ultimates as well. No touch really going to be able to come through either here, so already 1 point under their belt. As we're heading over to, it appears to be the Ducks. I'll be interested to see how this continues to sort of roll out with this Zarya finally having Grab online. I really don't want to see them stack both Grab and EMP, because both of those ults are good enough on their own.
Yeah, 100%. This could be a big ultimate fight if things are not careful for both these teams here right now. Going in, looking for the cage fight immediately. Gonna catch a lot of bodies in. The grab is there. It's being back and forth. And Mori is gonna double down with an EMP. Unfortunately, it's not gonna find its value. Delta is gonna clear things out. Gonna separate Sab right now. It gets pushed all the way in. Delta curling has a 3K, and Robbie Hash is in there alone with just Jacob on their side, and Delta now has a 4K to their name, and Jacob, unfortunately, is going to have to eventually fight the bull to go down, see if they can take a body with them, but that is disaster for Smelvin Industries.
I do not think that fight could have gone better for budget approved if they had tried. They got ults out. They got the value with the minimum ults needed from them. They are now forcing complete comp switches. They had control of the point the whole time, so they're already going to be potentially, only needing one fight and then a stagger fight after it to secure this second point here. I mean, budget approved has it all right now. Smelvin Industries having to full pivot to the Malga comp. It might be a little too late for this point, but maybe they can start building momentum for these next three.
Yeah, this is all about really trying to make as much momentum on this as possible. But we're seeing it come out. Orbital Ray going to force them all out, but they all convene. They all live. A retouch is very possible. You might see them just rush straight to the point at this thing and force people to drop down from DYS budget approved, because that might be your only real option at this point is, let's just get right back into this thing. Pushing the exact same way again. Delta is ready with the Death Blossom, 90% of the board. Need to see if they can find the rally is there. Going to knock them back, and now nothing to stop Delta as the point is going to start seeing a bit of a flip on overtime right now as Delta is still there looking for it. Not going to go for the solo wall, because see if they can find Robbie Hash, and they 100% will be able to. And now things are falling apart in this fight here. Reno going to go down, and now you're going to try to find something if you're Jacob, as the point is still very back and forth. Megalast, neither of these teams want to give this up here. Death Blossom's still ready to go here, as nobody is willing to pull the trigger, but there it goes right there. Going to get rid of one. Neither of these teams want to go down. Unfortunately, Bronan's going to clean house, got a 2K, helping with the third. Mori can't do it alone, and now it's already going to be map point.
Already map point here, and, Smelvin, they definitely had a fair shake at that fight, right? I think that disengage from the orbital ray that DBRX threw out early was beautiful, but again, they realized that they're put themselves behind the 8 ball here, having to work with a lot. Now, as we are heading into our next point, right, Reno does have this cage fight ready to go. It's going to be matching Jacob on the other side, and now we're going to see, something from an old Malga meta, right? You'd run Sombra purely for this effect of being able to EMP the cage when it comes out, and I think Mori is going to make sure that this one comes through.
100%. Right now we have the orbital array ready. EMP gonna get used early in the situation, gonna cause a little bit of back and forth here as Delta is still on the scene right now. The cage fight gonna be initiated. Jacob gonna see if he can burn down Reno, but Reno does not want to go down without a fight. Unfortunately, I do not have the backup to be able to do so. And now Smelvin Industries gonna win a fight here on the point, gonna be able to start things out strong here. They do use the double ultimate, but I mean, you had to win that fight though. You needed something.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting, right? We talked about on Lijiang Tower about them needing to be the aggressors, and that's how they chose to use the EMP instead of defensively, like I was saying, against Reno's cage fight. They decided to just go forward, be the first ones in with that EMP, and it gave them that fight win. So this proactiveness can pay off for them, but Jacob has to live.
Yeah, Jacob getting super low in this situation, trying to keep up with everything that's happening. As the orbital array is going to be online. Delta's got rid of one. Deborah's helping out with another, and now gonna be only 50-something% here, as it is just 1 or 2 more on the cart, and now 56% on the board here. Again, Smelvin Industries using multiple ultimates of their own to try to win that fight, and for budget approved, still 3 sets of good ultimates.
3 sets of good ultimates remaining, like you said. And they have beautiful combo potential as well here, and budget approved now only needing 2, potentially even 1 fight, depending on how long it takes Smelvin to really get back into this one, their pathing and things like that. If I'm Smelvin, I kind of want to go in and lose a fight extremely quickly. That way I can come in for that final fight with my best possible chance.
Yeah, 100% here. Now, this could be last fight for our map coming up online here. Smelvin Industries, it's a tough situation because you almost have to slow play this, try to see if you can get an ultimate online, but Mori getting super low, eventually gonna get taken down, and now it could be all falling apart. The cage fight is here, all awaiting their deaths here, but Jacob trying to keep the team alive. A lot of back and forth, get the mega health pack. Unfortunately, there is no health pack to bring you back to life, and budget approved. Clear the point off, 85%. Mori, the only real touch, but Megalaz, I fear they're too far away.
I mean, potentially it could happen, right? But even if you touch, right, like how much else can you really do? And yeah, that's going to be a quick victory for budget approved. I question their madness of picking the mode, but now that they are on this standard meta, the Malga in play for them, it looks absolutely stunning, and they're able to tie us up 1 apiece.
Yeah, and unfortunately the gamble does not pay off. We thought for a moment maybe it was going to. That first point kind of started to go their way. Unfortunately, you saw it obviously failed. They had to go over to it for the second point, back to the Malga composition, and obviously we could be looking at a different map if they opted to start with the Malga comp instead, but that's the risk you kind of take sometimes. I mean, we could be talking a whole different story if that risk works out. We're here at match point already. It'd be a completely different story, but unfortunately, you kind of have to just take that on the chin. And the bright side is, though, you get to pick the next map. You get to realize, hey, this does not work. We don't need to go back to this. That option can just be completely taken out. So at the very least, you get it out at a point where you still have plenty of room to still win the series.
Exactly, and being able to work with that. Again, that closer affair is all Smelvin really should be after right now. After their last matchup with budget approved, being able to build their confidence, realizing we can win, that's all, they should be focused on right now. And being tied 1 apiece shows evidence of that already. Like we said, they are going to have their pick of map and mode, but it'll be on the other side of a short break. So I would recommend, going to the restroom, getting yourself a little snack, because it seems like these teams are ready to start another barn burner matchup. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
another game between budget approved Smelvin Industries and another one that seems to be trying to go the distance. It is going to be 1-1 here to get things started. We've seen back and forth from both these teams, little bits of dominance as well, but it's all a situation where it's going to come down to these next 3 maps, and especially the importance of having this map here, because Megalas, whoever wins this map here, is very likely going to have control, or actually will have control of that map 5 if we get to that point, which it's good to have map control at any point, but having it on a potential final map of the series, I mean, that might be as good as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, look at the facts so far for this series, right? Each team has won on their own map pick here. So in theory, Smelvin does have that slight advantage. Of course, you still have to actually go win the map here, and it will be an interesting sort of setup that we have, especially because we're heading to Hollywood. One of the few maps in the pool, even pro teams would agree that, you know, Malga, unfortunately, his reign does not continue here. There's too much high ground. Dive is too versatile. It does too much across this map here. And when you're talking dive, you know, there's a lot of different elements that come into play, you know, across the board, right? You have to look at those DPS that you're playing with. You run stuff like the Tracer, the Genji, try to get in your opponent's face, or are you sitting back just doing some long range hit scan poke?
Yeah, honestly, you can kind of go either way in that retrospect right now. Again, I think it's going to come down to the comfortability of these players and kind of find out how fast they want to play things. Because if you're going very quick, you're going to look at that Winston, you're going to look at that Genji, that Tracer, that Echo style. But what's important to bring out is that we might be seeing the Tracer 1v1 in this situation, because Elliot is going to come in on that DPS role for Seed Stat, which means Bronan, Elliot might be doing their Tracer 1v1 right now, but no other changes around the board in this situation, which it's still indication that we might still be seeing a lot of the same, where we already saw the D.Va come out before. D.Va, Winston are probably going to be the 2 most popular tanks in the situation, but Reno did hover over that ball earlier, so there's every chance a ball has come out, because, I mean, pretty sure we saw for ourselves, Megalas, what a ball can accomplish when it comes in and just wreaks complete havoc.
I mean, that's the whole point of Wrecking Ball, right? You get to absolutely come in, do some crazy shenanigans, be a distraction, pull attention, aggro across the board. But, you know, it is a, you know, bit of a tightrope act that you have to balance when you're on that Wrecking Ball. Because if you're not pulling aggro, you're not even having the attention and things like that. I mean, it becomes a little bit more difficult and things like that. But we're getting the highlights on the Hollywood sign. You can pretend that you're a celebrity for all of 5 minutes. But ultimately, we are going to have to see how this ends up going and see if these dive comps really are going to come to fruition. As there's a Orisa on the defense for Reno. This is actually a very interesting one. You know, it can kind of work for first point, right? It's almost somebody that can anchor the point while allowing your Ashe and Tracer to sort of go to town, each on their own individual angles. You become a bit of a poke pick style composition. Meanwhile, Smelvin, they're on the dive. They have it highlighted for a reason here. I think the interesting thing will be if Seb actually manages to walk out on this Ana, because those antis, if they can be applied to Reno, then it is going to be a quick target to burst. Orisa, you know, she looks sustainable, she looks sturdy, but apply an anti-nade, no healing coming through, and all of a sudden you realize just how mortal that horse can be.
Yeah, I'd be a little more confident in this horse pick if Jacob was over on like a Winston, because, you know, in a situation where if that monkey jumps up, Reno has the ability to simply just either spin or just javelin them away. It kind of kills the dive, but it's a little bit more difficult on the D.Va, as the sleep is going to be expended in this situation, and they're also going to be playing for this high ground, setting up, waiting for a nade here, because there is no major speed away, as already the 1v1 has activated between Bronan and Elliot. Recall going to be used here as Elliot getting the better for the time being, but double putting pressure on this point, keeping each other up, eventually setting up a nade, but for right now, I mean, Megalas are kind of sitting ducks up here. Unfortunately, Elliot goes in a little too deep. Gonna get taken care of, and now it's gonna become really tough as everybody gonna get forced all around this high ground. They're trying to hold it really hard, and it's kind of paying off with Delta already having gone down. Jacob, though, getting knocked out of the mech is very likely gonna kill this fight right then and there.
Yeah, I mean, the mech is going to be a crucial factor here, and yeah, now that D.Va is gone, means the rest of these players are going to have to run for the hills, but they might not be being allowed to.
Yeah, they're all going to stay alive for the most part, and now they just got to wait for Jacob, who's back over on the Winston now. They're playing for a quicker style, which means Mori is going to get left behind in this dive. Same thing with the supports. But if Elliot and Jacob can take advantage of a nade here, it could be massive. And here comes that dive setup. Reno trying to force away some kind of cooldowns here as Jacob is trying to force something right now. His pulse bomb not going to hit, but Debrix will end up going down as a result of all this chaos right now. Mori doing their best to stay alive as the Nando already going to be good to go for Seb. And now running down the back line, clearing house. One tick already going to be on the board. Very likely going to be a second here. And now Reno's going to have to come up clutch here if they want to win the fight.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's going to be difficult. You have the Terror Surge, right? Even if you are able to get to it, right, your health is so low, it's just not worth investing. So now the question is, does Reno actually stick on this Orisa, or do you have to give up and sort of will yourself to the dive, right? I mean, this high grounds, we talked about how repressive they are and things like that, but Reno seems, at least for the time being, to want to stay on this Orisa. So it's going to be about controlling the low ground, trying to get in while they can on the side of Smelvin Industries, because if budget approved, if they're able to set up at the choke once again and negate any advantage that the dive could have on the high ground, it could be massive.
Yeah, oh, and Ronan just gets caught out. Even if Mori wouldn't have finished them, unfortunately, Jacob was there ready to go, and the dive's going to come through. Going to toss separation again. Reno going to force them away. Pulse bomb not going to find anything for Elliot here, but they're still making space. That car is steadily moving along as Reno going to try to find something with the Terror Surge. Seb will end up being caught out, and now their counterpart just to try to get out with their life as a quick reset here for Smelvin Industries.
Quick reset in the
Whoa,
whoa, wait, almost crushed by the... I think that should be a mechanic. I think the elevator should be allowed to crush you.
A little bit of parkour there from Mori. Unfortunately, they're getting ran down more and more, but they're just being kept alive this entire time by Robbie Hash, who is just staying in their space, and Mori needs to hit those shots now as Jacob trying to find something here with the Primal Rage. Reno on the high ground once again trying to clear house. Unfortunately, this card has just moving along for free as Reno doing a bit of their own parkour. Unfortunately, it's eventually going to lead to them falling down here, and now Smelvin Industries only one fight away from capping the second point. They still have a lot of time on that clock.
I mean, yeah, budget approved. They took that fight pretty much in the worst way they could, where they never had anybody on the card, so the payload was just constantly moving, constantly going forward, while they just, you know, simply were nowhere taking this fight. Now coming out on the Malga here, particularly with the multi to work with, you know, it's difficult, but it'd be interesting.
That's not the best opening when you wanted to win this fight, but Delta uses the Bob, is going to be able to stay alive for the time being, and now the Malga on the scene, going to make it tough, and unfortunately, nearly gets both of their supports killed by that jump, and it might have been a mercy killing, because now for Zeb and Robbie Hash, it'll be a bit of a struggle to get out alive, but it looks like they'll be able to survive for the time being.
Surviving for the moment, but how much longer can this defense hold, right? It's going to probably be off the back of this orbital ray, and seeing how much value it can get. Then on the other side of things, of course, Seb does have a nano boost, but nobody really to apply it to that would be super ideal, right? So it might be used in a more defensive style where it's going to keep somebody up. Nade does apply to the backline, though.
Yep, and it'll be brought through. Debrix, that was the original target, but Delta going to get knocked away as Debrix has already got rid of two in that fight. He is disaster for Smelvin Industries, and now, unfortunately, Jacob is going to get knocked out of the mech, and oh boy, the staggering shall begin.
Yeah, and so now you're just seeing Jacob go back to spawn because it's simply quicker than trying to do anything else here. It will be interesting to see how, you know, it'll probably just be back to the Diva more than anything, right? They seem very comfortable on the Diva here, but budget approved now being able to utilize their specific high ground once again. They have everybody set up here, and when they need to drop the point, right, they can almost drop as a collective, and Smelvin Industries doesn't gain too much from being on top of the saloon, so it completely works out for them.
Yeah, you almost want to send Elliot over on a thing as we're going to see the rush coming through here. Nate's going to come online. Reno going to get knocked off the high ground. Might be a blessing to kind of take them out of the fight as we do see the point being touched right now. Elliot going to struggle to stay alive, but will get the mini health pack. And now, fight still full engaged. Reno's going to have to force their way out. Has all the support in the world sitting behind them to keep them up here as Pulse Bomb's going to come online. Sticks to absolutely nothing. As Ultimate's coming up online, Reno gonna have this cage fight very shortly. This fight needs to end quickly right now if you're Smelvin Industries, because you're down to a minute. If you lose this fight, that last fight could be disastrous right now. And now, with nothing, and the cage fight comes out, it doesn't fight anything. That all goes down the drain, Megaless, and now it just feels like a stalemate.
Yeah, I mean, neither team can really make headway against each other here. Maybe the rally could be the thing to open it up.
Yeah, Robbie Hash goes down before that Pulse Bomb can even find its target, and now back and forth right now. Robbie Hash and Seb dead means there's no support on the board, and Jacob is going to have to use the remake here, hoping they take care of them right now, but they're going to get taken care of very thankfully. And now one more fight left on the line. Mori needs to try to get out alive, though.
Yeah, Mori hoping to live, maybe even taking another for their trouble here, but nobody's going to want to peek into that. We're going to have dueling Bobs, and again, it's going to be that matchup of the Orbital Ray versus the Nano Boost here. You think that Orbital Ray is obviously favored, right? But if this Nano can, again, find some high-value targets, it could be an opening for Smelvin to finally get this point B!
Yeah, and the Bob's going to get pushed around right now as it's still trying to do some kind of work here right now. It's on the high ground, going to eventually knock them off, and now Robbie Hash trying to live in this fight along with Seb right now. The Nano going to be used here. Elliott was 99% and did not get the pulse bomb on in time. And Jacob is now struggling. The rest of the team is falling around them and trying to commit a retouch. It's not going to happen. It all falls apart just outside of that second checkpoint. And for budget approved, they have a potential match point sitting right in front of them.
It's going to be, you know, a lot easier than they probably expected, right? I feel like the dive, it should have been favored a lot, but Smelvin, they just kept taking these very weird fights where they kept trying to assault the high ground in the same exact way, the same exact pathing every single time, trying to cross that bridge, right? It's just, you know, eventually budget approved is able to sort of look at you, say, hey, wait, this is exactly what they're doing, and we're able to just sort of continually shut it down. So, you know, potentially back to the drawing board here for Smelvin, where they have to start figuring out new approaches, new tactics. That being said, it will be interesting to see if budget approved wants to run this Malga on first point. The high grounds, it's going to be incredibly difficult to access. Sure, you'll have a great job anchoring point if you are Reno when you're able to get in, but Seb and Robbie Hash are pretty much going to go untouched unless Delta can find some good shots or Bronin can work their way in to be at the back of the point.
Yeah, it's something we're really going to have to see here because, again, that rotation could be massive. And for everyone who's mad at Smelvin Industries, especially Mori, who unfortunately was getting taken out a little more often than not. Same thing with Elliott. They were finding the impact. We were really hoping to find that situation. Bronin and Delta were kind of just always there making some impact. But gotta see them come alive. Even if you don't hold this first point, you need to take a ton of time off here because if budget approved come in and win that very first fight, it could be very disastrous here as it is going to be that Malga Cup. Started these out on the attack.
And so, you know, potentially this could also be a good opening for Seb on the Ana as well, right? Just figure out where the Malga is, then as soon as he charges in, even if they're taking high ground, right? They're going to be grouped up for a little bit. And you see it, the anti is being applied, right? Already two were anti there, and now Seb can just find that again the next time anti comes up to sort of stall this push out.
Oh, Jacob is playing a little too brave right now. Already going to cause him to back out. Mori separated from the squad for a moment. Is super low. Everybody is a super low ready now. You have to give up a tick or two. You need to live, reset, get everybody back up to their max health. Because Reno is getting low, unfortunately. They still have their complete support unit behind them. As we're already sitting at 50% accounting, going to charge in almost right in the face of Elliott as Reno going to get hit with that anti, getting super low. Eventually will get taken out. 2 ticks though already on the board as the fight is very much still alive here. With that takeout though, Bronan being taken care of. It's just Delta and the supports, and eventually looks like they can sustain for a little while longer.
Yeah, but you said it, right? I mean, they had to give up 2 ticks for that one here, which means they don't have any more room to give, right? You can't replicate that exact fight. Your defense has to be able to sort of stand its ground a little bit better, especially now with Bronin going to have the pulse bomb. If they can make their way into the back line, knowing that all 3 of these members are stuck up here.
Ooh. That's a very not good way to begin the fight right here. As again, like you said, Bronin has his pulse bomb. If they catch us on to Seb, this would be utterly disastrous right now for Smelvin Industries. But they gotta hide away, wait for the right time here. As again, if you're Seb, you're just hoping to set up these nades when they go through these rotations, because right now you can see Jacob again honestly just playing too aggressive. I think they're playing up a little too far here, and that's the reason why they get knocked out of mech the first time. But Pulse Bomb comes through. It catches on to Mori, unfortunately, and the sleep is going to take down Bronan. Going to be a good sleep as the bomb is going to be used here just for some sustainability. Get back in the mech, and the 4v4 is now online. Megalast, this fight very much to go back and forth, and Nano needs to find something as Elliott is taken care of almost instantaneously. Zekba is living on this here right now. Debrix is there to help keep them up right now. Eventually might be taken out, but the numbers game eventually plays its factor, and now going to be 4 minutes on the clock. Budget approved. Have to go 111 meters to take this one away.
It is going to be against the pull of these high grounds here, but Smelvin, they're not going to get an initial setup because of how late they died in that last fight and having only that 1 tick here. So they are going to be forced to already just set up on the back high ground, right? If Reno pushes forward right now, knowing they have the orbital ray in the back pocket just to sort of hold and contain the space, you know, these high grounds can absolutely be negated by this Malga right now. Smelvin Industries, they have to find some sort of opening. It might be off the back of their Bob initiation or what have you, but an opening's got to come through soon.
Yeah, 100%. Gonna have to see this first fight. Gonna be extremely important to setting the pace here. And again, Jacob needs to be careful not to be taken down. Has to try to play safe to an extent. But eventually, gonna have to try to find somebody as Zekla is gonna be kept up. Debrix is just not leaving their side. They're not letting anybody go down. Unfortunately, Elliot is gonna be the first for Smelvin going back to that spawner right now as we're already no less than 30 meters away. Bob gonna be activated, thrown in directly into the face. Unfortunately, that Bob is gonna be turned into sashimi, deleted from the scene, and now it's continuing moving along, and Megaless is becoming absolute desperation here for Smelvin Industries.
I mean, yeah, especially without the Bob. They do have a rally. It's going to be good sustain, but it's going to be matched with an orbital ray and the cage.
Barely stays outside of the cage as Robbie has right now. Bomb going to be used. It's going to have to try to break the thing. It's going to come online, going to get rid of Delta, but you need more than that. Unfortunately, you might be out of the tank here. Zeb is still the only one alive with an ultimate, and Mori going to have to die on the point. Budget approved, taking back-to-back now, pulling themselves on match point, and Smelvin Industries pick fails, and now Budget approved have all the momentum in their hands.
Well, I think Smelvin was anticipating a dive mirror, and early on when it was that sort of dive matchup, Smelvin looked like the better team, right? They absolutely had confidence behind them. They saw what they were doing, but ultimately Budget approved just forced the Malga. They said even high grounds will be harder to control. That's fine. We can definitely fight it out on the payload. And they showed that in spades there. So being able to do that time and again is what gave them the advantage. So now Smelvin Industries, your back is against the wall. Like you were saying, I don't know if there's any dive maps left in the pool, but you can't even guarantee that you're going to get the dive mirror. So you might just have to find a way to try to muscle through Budget approved on a Malga of your very own.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough situation because at this point, all you have left, I believe, is push and escort. We've already gone through our hybrid. We went through our flashpoint clash kind of area. So now, obviously, if you go to a map like a push, you're going to play that map. It's just going to happen. If you're an escort, though, if there's one that's like, that you could realistically go to, it would be Dorado, but it's going to be a slightly different story here because it is going to be escort, as we kind of hope for. They want to try to make something happen, but Nicholas, we're going to go to Havana for our fourth, potentially final map here. You think about Poke when you go to this map here, but with how strong the Malga is, how much can we really expect things like the Widowmaker to kind of come out here?
I don't even think at the Widowmaker level, right? Because the thing that makes Poke work so well is a tank like Sigma, right? You're able to apply that shield either for the Sigma for yourself, or you have, the shield up for the Widow, the different placements that you can place it, right? If you take the Sig out of the equation, if you're just forcing the Malgas, then, the Widows, the Hanzos, whatever snipers you end up feeling or leaning towards, right? They're going to have to be very respectful of these sightlines because generally speaking, the DPS are just going to be at war with one another while the tank is preoccupied purely with the tank matchup. So it is going to be one of those things that people have to sort of focus on and look at.
Yeah, that's what it kind of ends up being in that situation. It's the thing that we kind of saw in the last map where we had pretty much a 4v4 going on, but then we had the Tracer 1v1 just going on in a lot of different places. It essentially creates a 4v4 situation. It keeps the fight even, but when that 1v1 comes to an end, that advantage hits pretty much instantaneously. A Widow that does not get bound by any kind of matching Widow or anything like that is very dangerous, especially you look at that first and third point of Havana where there's a lot of different sightlines and specifically very long sightlines to be able to take, so it could be dangerous, but we've seen a lot from both these teams already. We have yet to see something like the Widowmaker come out. We've seen a lot of Ashe, and that could be what we get as well, but it's one of those situations where you have now chosen this as your map. You are guaranteeing if you go to map 5, you're going to push and forcing the Malga. This is one of those situations where you are hoping you have something to pull out here and make it work, because at this point, what do we have to see from them that we haven't seen already? Because, we've watched this team forever, and not just in the season, but forever now. It has been fantastic to watch them, but they have to have something in the tank ready here on Havana.
Yeah, Havana, you talk about the sightlines and stuff. I'll have Blizzard said, listen, we put up a banner. It's okay. No more sightlines have to be worried about. But, yeah, it's something that you have to worry about. Listen, I think of all of the maps they reworked, if I'm just being realistic here, Havana got the goofiest rework of all. Havana got done so dirty. I don't understand their thought process on half of the rework. They were like, all right, we're going to put a banner on point A. On point B, we're going to add a staircase that nobody asked for and completely make this closed hallway an open hallway. That way, defenders no longer have a safe position. in that back right side. Like, I feel like every single move that was made on Havana was like, it's like if you're watching a Bob Ross painting, it's just like the happy little accident going off in the corner.
It's like someone punched the wall and you put a painting over it.
Exactly.
You cover up the hole, but the hole is still there. It's still a problem. And what might be a problem for Smelvin Industries is they are going all in right now, it seems, with this poke style composition, but budget approved, they are going to commit to close hold with the May. This is either going to work really well, or Mori's going to find a pick, and it's going to get instantaneously shut down. That's my prediction. Mori's going to find Debrix on the first shot. That's my prediction. Easy.
I mean, yeah, but this is more of, again, Smelvin trying to ignore the meta. They're trying to play what they're comfortable at and what, used to be meta, whereas budget approved, they're just going to force, what is the tried and true, what everybody's playing right now. And they're just adding in the May for the spawn hole.
Yep, here we go. Gonna go with the aggro out the gate here to get things going right now. Ronan suffering a little bit right now. Widow not touchable in their current position right now. So Ronan's gonna drop. Elliot gonna help things out as well in that full hold. Comes to a stop immediately. And now budget approved. Gonna see if they're gonna make any swaps here. As Smelvin Industries, I mean, for as fast as that they got engaged on, pretty comfortable as they're going with the ball and Echo.
I'm not sure about what's happening here for budget approved.
Okay.
I think the only thing that needed to swap was a May, and we saw 3 people swap. So now we have a Widow duel going on. Who is the ball going to jump on? Maybe Zenyatta. We're going to pretend that a BAP can't peel for him and make it so short you can slam onto the Zen all you want, but it's a very interesting style here.
Yeah, I'm concerned as about how this might go for them this first round here, especially as Reno's already sitting at half right now, trying to find something. Getting drilled down, unfortunately, going to get deleted eventually, as right now, Delta is going to win the 1v1 here in this situation, but that point is still moving along. There's no more Delta. It's a 4v2, and the retouches are possible, but it's just Ronan now, so if they keep 3 on, I think they might just get this.
I mean, they should, right? I mean, there's nobody nobody left to touch. It's just sort of budget approved. Again, they're sort of making swaps around, like the ball's just gonna spin, but you gotta do something besides just spin. You gotta okay.
We can post up a wall, that would help. That's what I do in my spare time. As it's gonna be a very fast first push here for Smelvin Industries. Gain the momentum that they need as Reno is just gonna go the Sigma. It's gonna bite the bullet, go with the match. But Mori feels, I'll say, slightly out of place right now with what we have on the rest of the line.
I mean, it's
not bad.
It's not bad. It's an interesting pick. You're going to try to apply pressure to the back line with the help of Elliot, right? And sort of leave the other 3 to be their own unit.
Fortunately, Delta biting off a little more than they could chew there. Not a great position as that card is still steadily moving along here. 1v1 over on the side. Recall is going to be used here, and again, that card's just going to keep moving and moving and moving. Jacob is going to have this flux ready to go here. Sitting at 1 is Bronan, doing a bit of parkour right there, going to force them to go with the recall, and unfortunately, Bronan is going to get chased by a Baptiste of all people, and Zeb having themselves a shoe moment right now. Going to have the Matrix ready to go, and unfortunately, for Smelvin Industries, I mean, for budget approved, it's all falling apart. A touch here is going to be next to impossible.
Yeah, I mean, next to impossible. They're going to have to try to push out against overwhelming odds. They're having to push into everything here. And it's just very confusing, right? This orbital ray might open things up.
Yeah, that's not a great scenario right there. And now, you see right now, Zekba is hitting super low right now. Debrix is there to aid them. It's just very much back and forth. They can't get off the point for very long. 1.6 meters is just the care right now of Maureen Elliott on the point right now, trying to clean things up. Unfortunately, Delta will be the one to clean things around right now, as even though Zekba goes down, they will get the cleanup. That was almost disastrous, but now budget approved, get some momentum back on their side, and Smelvin Industries is going to swap once again. Bap Lucio with the Winston does not sound right, Megalas. That makes more sense. Perfect.
Yeah, the Kiriko makes more sense. You're pivoting to a full dive because, again, Smelvin, they seem like they're willing and wanting to play these dive compositions, and this is a situation where it kind of can work, but again, it's going to be about finding this back line and trying to, oh my goodness, the Suzu.
Robbie Hash saying a prayer for that one right there. Zeb able to help out, and now gonna go with the all-in dive here. Robbie Hash already getting low, but it's gonna get carried up very quickly here. Unfortunately, nothing can stop instantaneous death right now. It's 5v4, make it a 5v3, and if all falls apart, Jacob needs to try to get out of there if they can. Looks like they will likely be able to right now, but unfortunately, they're surrounded as Mori is just trying to help them survive, and it looks like they will.
And I mean, Budget Approved now has themselves set up in a pretty good situation for this defense, right? You have a Gravitic Flux, you have the Bob, both of which can win you a fight outright here. And Smelvin Industries, they just have absolutely nothing but their raw dive to go through with, so it'll be interesting to see what they attempt to piece together.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as Ronan eventually gets taken out. Zeb there, ready to clean things up, and a Flux is ready. You're almost going to throw us directly over onto this back line if you can get it. You're setting up. Mori going to get hit. Going to try to get them out of it right there, but Elliot will still get taken out. Rocking a miss right now, but Creation doesn't need a hit to eventually clean things up. And unfortunately, another fight down the drain here. No stagger right there. Minute 40 on the clock right now. Some Industries, I mean, they're catching up in the ult economy. They're going to have potentially 2, 3, 4 ultimates potentially going to the next fight, but they have to get in there because Budget Ruby is just acting first, it feels like.
They're acting first as well as they just have the better sustain, right? The Kiriko, Lucio, it's not as survivable as you would want. And look at this. I mean, you just talked about them going first, right? That beautiful setup between the rock and everything ultimately still cost Bronan his life.
Yeah, Bronan dying first for the second fight in a row here. Jacob going to go into the back line. Does have the assault ready to go right now. It's going to be a tough situation right now as Pack comes through, but Delta just is an unstoppable machine. And now Jacob can't get the ultimate up on time. Pulse Bomb going to hit absolutely nothing. And it is becoming disastrous here. 1 minute left for Smelvin Industries. 3 ultimates on the line. They have to make it work.
They have to make it, but I mean, you know, haves and have-nots are going to be a very interesting thing set up for this fight here. The Kitsune Rush, I feel like, is going to be the key factor here. So being able to place that in a good position is going to be the thing that really should propel Smelvin to win this fight outright.
Yep, potentially last fight on the board here right now. Mori gonna get some attention. Pulse Bomb gonna miss here, unfortunately. Gonna be able to ignore it, and now Bronan, 3rd fight in a row, gonna go down first, and now the advantage has to be taken. The beat gonna be used. The Primal Rage going to be used. You need to try to find Devrix here. Looks like you're eventually gonna be able to do so. Fight will finally come to an end. A fight that Smelvin Industries hoping would have ended 3 minutes earlier, but when they get another chance, it looks like they might be swamping immediately.
I mean, yeah, you can't play the dive here on 3rd point. The sight lines are too long. You're going to get poked. It's just absolutely brutal to attempt to do it. So it's back over to the Sigma comp for them here. It makes total sense. But they're going to continue this backline differential, right? The Bap Zen versus the Brig Curie. And I think that's why you're noticing, you know, so much sustain come through from Budget Approved. Why it's so hard to dislodge them from any of these positions. Because they're just so survivable right now. I mean, this is the meta backline for a reason. No.
Super low as Reno, but again, those brick packs ready to go, keeping them alive. And Mori currently having the 1v1 right now. Delta not able to have a very fair 1v1, but what they're doing right now is they're going to get deleted in the stick. Elliot just having one hell of a moment right there, clearing things out. It's just Debrix. All's going to go down the drain, and now this fight can mean absolutely everything. So the trees is going to cap is going to be right here.
Yeah, and they'd love to cap with some extra time just in case extra innings is a factor here. But, you know, it's only a matter of wait and see, right? That rock is a good catch on the Reno, but now that means the Flux can go free.
Yep, Zeb has to hit this thing. Unfortunately, they're not going to hit it. Christian is going to miss, but it could all be falling apart at the seams. And now everybody needs to die quickly or try to survive, because if anybody else dies right now from Help Industries, it will be absolutely disastrous as Jacob is in no man's land. Accretion will hit. Unfortunately, they are a sitting duck, and now it is all down to Elliot for a touch.
Relying on that one player just to trigger overtime, and then, you know, there's still a fight that has to come after that, and I'm not sure if, you know, Smelvin has the power or anything like that, because, I mean, they're pushing into a rally. They'd pretty much be relying on pick potential after this point.
Yep, more time is there. Jacob over on the ball now. It's all about Elliot trying to hang around and make this happen right now. Gets super low as Reno. Zekba in the same exact boat right now. You need to find a perfect power drive here to be able to make it happen, but the Bob is there for Delta to try to clean things out. For Mori, their fight is over right now. Seb trying to have their moment again. Unfortunately, Delta is shutting it down. 3K to their name, and now it all comes to an end right now. DYS Budget Approved have the finish line set in front of them. They just have to make it there.
I mean, having to make it there and actually making it there are going to be two completely separate things, right? I mean, we're just looking at how this is going to go and how chaotic this entire map has been so far, right? The constant comp switching, the adapting for each individual point, trying to change things up. I mean, who can really tell exactly what's going to happen? You're still going to have to push pretty deep into 3rd when there's tons of good stopping points throughout this defense. So, you know, Budget Approved, while they definitely, you know, they stopped it short of a full map completion, but their job is nowhere near done yet.
Yeah, no, it is still a very long distance to go. We don't see many teams finish this map Havana, and the reason is because that third point is so brutal. I would put it in a similar camp. We look at the second points of 2 CPs where the spawn is literally right there. If you're a Kiriko, you look at things like King's Row where you can pretty much instantly go from the spawn out into the battlefield if you can do things like teleport. You have a lot of mobility. Those factors come into play in this situation, but it's important for Smelvin Industries to come out here, have a really good defense on first to get things started right now. Not going to have any kind of close hold. Delta right now, currently running that Ashe into a Widowmaker. Delta has gone away with a lot, so for Mori, their sole job, their most important job at least, is to shut down Delta and stop them from carrying a lot of these fights that they've been doing a really good job of doing. Sometimes 2, 3, 4 final blows every fight. It has been a phenomenal job by Delta once again.
And I mean, yeah, that's the sort of the difference when you're looking at, you know, these setups, right? The Ashe, it just provides more consistent damage, allows you to do things. The Widow, you know, pick potential is high, but also if you're not getting those pixels and your damage numbers just aren't there, ooh, almost caught a rock to the face.
Does gonna take a bit of an angle here, gonna see if they can find some help. Unfortunately, Jacob, a step ahead, gonna try to cover that angle as much as they can. Reno already suffering a little bit of sit, as well as Bronan in their respective areas right now. But Elliot just wants to hang around a little bit, cause a little bit of pressure for Reno, make it tough for them to be able to engage. Accretion does miss, unfortunately. But 12 Industries, they are buying time. They're giving more time for Mori to try to find the pick. But very smartly, everybody from Budget Pro is just playing inside. There's not a whole lot you can do for Smelvin if they just hang inside and they don't try to peek very often. Unfortunately, Mori gets hit with a double headshot. And now the fight's going to open up here. Accretion gonna come through. Jacob in a whole lot of trouble right now. Is going to be cleaned out. Delta, again, 2K to their name, trying to clear out more and more as the rest of the team will follow suit, and eventually Jacob will be taken down, but a retouch is very possible here.
Very, very possible. Still tons of time to work with here. But again, right, it's going to be about sort of Smelvin trying to buy time. But, I mean, their composition isn't built to buy time, right? We talked about it. That backline for Budget Approved is just more sustainable, more healing output than the BAP Zen can be here. So, if anything, it's Budget Approved to have all the time in the world.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb is ready for Bronan right now. If that catches on to Mori, it could be devastating. But right now, they're looking at Zeb right now, waiting for an opportunity. Bronan is going to find it, not even have to use the Pulse Bomb, and now it's the 1v1 looking for it. It's going to get eaten away by Jacob, and Jacob on the scene, getting more health as Hellion walks into the wrong person there. It's back and forth, but these spawns are still going to slightly go in the favor of Smelvin Industries, and it looks like with Debrick's eventually likely going to die here and now. Looks like Smelvin Industries will be able to sustain, and now 2 minutes down, 2 more to go.
And it's very good to get this defense here, right? Even if they don't end up holding, right? It's just going to be more time, more resources, potentially even ult investment that DYS has to throw into this one, trying to make it work for them here. They're going to have the rally coming up towards their orbital ray as well here. If they have to invest both to get this point, it's looking really great for Smelvin, even beyond.
Yep, so it's going to be online here. You are looking for somebody. Nearly takes Delta's head off there. Was very close to being able to do so. Now, Slug's going to be used here. Hoping to find one. Mori going to be able to follow up, get Delta there. And now, this fight's going to be a bit of a struggle to win right now if you don't find a pick right here. Now, unfortunately, Jacob going to clean things up. And now, you can slowly stagger this out, get pick after pick here. We'll come to that. And now, only a minute 20 on the clock here. But for Budget Approved, it's all about using these ultimates correctly.
Exactly right, and you know they do have a slight advantage if they can force the rock out from Jacob. Then they should be having a pretty free gravitic flux, being able to drop that even onto one person, right? As long as that person gets blown up and taken out of the fight, then that's all Budget Approved realistically should need. But Mori gets the first pick again.
He's no Bob for the fight, but it's gonna be back and forth right now. We see that ready to go, probably gonna come in with this tranquility. Gonna be able to keep everybody up inside of that flux, and now Reno in a really cool spot. It's gonna give it up to try to find it and try to see if he can get rid of Jacob. Sitting super low. Accretion's both gonna be used. Unfortunately, it's gonna go in neither of their favors. Both being taken out. Robbie Hash is in the center of everything. Being kept up is going buck wild. 30 seconds left. Potentially only one more fight until we go to a map 5.
And, you know, Smelvin, they needed that fight, right? That pick be allowed, you know, them to force out the gravitic flux and the orbital ray. So now just a pulse bomb. Gonna have Bob as well here. So Budget Approved has that, but the pulse bomb traded.
Delta again dead. So again, no Bob on the scene. It's down to Bronan, or, you know, to eventually set up a touch. And you see they're waiting. They're taking the sweet time because they know the touch is going to be there here, going to go through. Touch is going to be activated, overtime on the line. Bronan is going to get their own stick on the board. Mori taken care of, and now this is the best chance that they have had throughout the entirety of this attack, and it's all beginning to fall apart right now. Zelly and Robbie Hash find their own picks. The Bob is going to be back. is going to be hit into the corner right now, and it's a rough spot right now for Jacob as the squad is falling around them. If they get this Flux online, it could be massive. It's on, ready to go, but Robbie Hash can't keep them up alone, and it's falling apart. Mori has to come back and try to find a touch.
I mean, yeah, but I don't even know if they'll be able to get back in time, right? It's just this Widowmaker, and even if you touch, unless you're hitting some miraculous headshots, it seems like Budget Approved is going to be able to get this cat. Ooh, the last second touch.
But it's just they gotta live. They're there. The Tracer's gotta hang around. Unfortunately, gonna get taken out. It ends up working out. The swaps to get back quickly from both squads. Gonna pay off for Budget Approved. They extend their life right now on this map. 2:20 on the clock to try to make a 3-point beat.
I mean, yeah, just another lease on life. Yeah, I mean, replicating the dive that they saw Smelvin doing on their own attack, right? They know that it works, so I don't see any real fault in it. That being said, Smelvin Industries, they are working with their own Gravitic Flux. Nothing else to really shut it down on the other side. So whoever they pick up, as long as the follow-up is there from Elliot and Mori, then they should be able to continue to get some cleanup.
Yeah, Flux gonna be used here. Gonna see if he can get rid of Reno here. They're 100% going back to the death box here, taken care of, and now rest of the Budget Proof squad, they can't do a whole lot more in this situation. You gotta reset. You can't win without your Sigma in that situation. So, fast fight, 140 on the clock. Smelvin Industries doing a really good job at establishing their angles on this fight.
Yeah, and I mean, holding space against dive is going to be so crucial, right? Making it harder for them to sort of jump up and find the value that they want. Because, you know, if Reno is able to get onto a target with Bronin and delete them from the fight, then the fight should just be over after that point. And now Smelvin also has a Transcendence online for whenever they need to live through this, you know, dive whenever it comes in.
Right, will be a big pulse bomb. Bronin has that ready to go, but Jeffrey's gonna get picked off early in the fight, and now, once again, could be falling apart right now. Bronan is trying to hunt down Elliot right now, sitting behind the car, but has all the help from 7 Robbie Hash right now. Unfortunately, it's gonna all fall apart. The support line of Smelvin Industries popping off big time right now, keeping things going. And now, once again, Smelvin Industries in a wonderful spot, but Budget Approved, getting their ult economy on the board.
Get it? Yeah, stabilizing their ult economy is massive here, but I mean, Smelvin has been doing the same thing, right? They've pretty much only been investing pulse bombs. We started out talking about the Gravitic Flux, and Jacob's already 70% back towards that ultimate here. So, I mean, you know, Budget Approved now making another swap back over the Sigma, realizing dive isn't for them, but they're running out of time.
They are right now. We are already looking at a final fight scenario right now, and you cannot afford to lose anybody in this situation right now, especially Debrix. Would be the absolute worst case scenario. Delta getting low, sitting at 97%. Gonna have the Bob ready. It might be the most important tool right now. His Pulse Bomb's gonna go on to catch absolutely nothing right now. The support line is getting ran through though, but the Flux needs to have its impact. It's gonna find Diddley's squad. It went for the air, and now it's these DPS, Delta and Bronan, again, trying to take this one away right now. Jacob and Elliot trying to survive right now. Robbie Ash, it's such a rough scenario. Will eventually get taken out as the punches are still coming through right now. Delta in a rough scenario, but eventually will fall. And now it is down to Elliot. Needs to find the Pulse Bomb. Unfortunately, will find nothing. And now it is all going to come down to this. It's going to come down to that Deadeye. Unfortunately, nothing really left to claim there. Unfortunately, you got to drop down, try to make something happen. Unfortunately, not even going to get an opportunity. And once again, Budget Approved going to extend this even further along. Minute 30 on the clock. Only 89 meters surrounding them from going to map 5 or going on to the winners finals.
I mean, Bronin and Delta right now, whoever's, you know, doing back support for them, they're going to have a long night ahead. But Smelvin, you know, they were trying to get some counter swaps in. They were trying to be able to get these touches to come through, and it forced them to completely reset their ult economy. I mean, look at this. They have absolutely nothing to work with. Meanwhile, Budget Approved, they're going to continue to stick on this Wrecking Ball. They have a rally to work with as well. If, you know, if this payload rules too much for free and they get this in a one-fight territory, Budget Approved could have a massive advantage.
Yeah, it's a real chance right now. Right now, Reno's just taking all them all out of position right now. Forcing them around in different ways right now. It's tough for Jacob to be able to survive in some environments. Unfortunately, Ronan just in there a little bit too long. Is Reno, the rest of the squad, gonna back out a little bit. And now, for Budget Approved, it has to be near perfection from here on out. And that is not the way you want to start it. Mori gonna find the headshot that was needed. Sekba sent back to the spawn room. And now, Mega Last, only 30 minutes on the clock. Budget Approved need to win back-to-back fights.
I mean, depending on how long this takes, yeah, back-to-back fights is going to be the name of the game here. They have to also work it, but Mori is just doing so much.
Mori is just carrying some of these fights now. Jacob's there on the scene. Reno needs to notch up. Unfortunately, they will. Delta has to go over to that Sombra just to help create a touch. We do have supports there. It might be Zekba to go for the touch. Rally's going to come out, going to get knocked around, but the overtime touch is going to come through right now. But it's the cleanup once again. The DPS on the scene, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to map 5 territory. Reno gonna get deleted. It's just the touch from Ronan. Reno will take one on the way out, but stay with me once more. We are going to a 5-mapper between Smelvin Industries and Budget Approved.
These two teams, it seems like whenever they clash, it's either going to be a one-sided affair or there's going to be the back and forth, the clutch moments that we expect, the things where you can't account for it. It's in the fight, in the heat of battle is when these teams are stepping up and doing exactly what they need, right? Delta doing it for a lot of this map, but simply just wasn't enough to bring it over the line thanks to Maury and Elliot just going off on the other side of things. And now, you know, tied up to a piece, the at least Budget Approved is going to say that they get their pick of map, but we are limited to just one mode left.
Yeah, and it's going to be that push style match. And again, 3 out of 4 of those are going to strictly come down to like Malga or Junker style compositions. That's what it's going to be. We're not going to see things like the Widowmaker come out. Things are going to pretty much go back to normal. But the important part is you take that win, you get momentum back into your pocket. You might not have that map pick, but you keep yourself alive in the series. You keep up that ability to be able to bring yourself to 1 map away from being able to go up to those winter finals. Again, you want to win. You want to take this one away and have that momentum going into that winners finals because you don't want to drop down. That's worst case scenario for you in this situation. Both these teams have been there before. They both lost to each other in previous outings. They want to win here so badly, but Megalast, they have to make it happen on push. It is one of those game modes that can get very out of control extremely quickly.
Yeah, it, you know, that about sums it up here. And, you know, it's so out of control, so crazy here that, you know, we do need a little bit of time to just sort of prep ourselves, make sure that we're ready for it. So again, you know, go, if you need to take a break, take this advantage because that's what we're going to do. And when we come back, we've got map 5, these two teams, somebody must win. And I promise it's going to be one hell of a map.
Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
Our insight here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true.
The rematch could not be any closer between these two teams, trying to make their way into the winners finals, trying to have the bragging rights of their fourth matchup here in season 14. Smelvin Industries, budget approved. It all comes down to one final map here, and Megalas, it's what we expected at the end of the day. These two teams are just so close with each other. Like you said, it is either a quick 3-0 or it is a map 5 banger. For the second time in their series throughout this season, it will go to 5 maps, and it is going to end on push.
Yeah, but I do kind of worry for Smelvin in this situation, right? The maps we've seen them get advantage, the things that we've seen them, take control in is when they're able to force us off of the meta, right? When the Malga is not the dominating factor and they're able to sort of play their own style, whether it be dive, poke, what have you, find their value that way. But push, regardless of any of the push maps, they all favor the Malga meta heavily. So, they might have to finally take a full-scale matchup here, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to stand a budget approve.
Yeah, that's the kind of fear of it with that map or Nasapi. And a lot of the maps, to be fair, but this is a very Malga-heavy map. This is gonna be the map where it's going to come out. We're likely gonna come back out, with that Brig Juno backline. The DPS obviously can vary it around a little bit, but the Echo and the Reaper might be those best picks. Again, you have the Death Blossom ready for those cage fights, and same thing with the copy. You have the ability to copy and get another cage fight or get another Death Blossom. It could be very important in that ult usage. Again, it's going to come back to that first map where it'd be about teams being able to manage their ultimates and being able to use them first a lot of the time in this situation. So I'm going to see how both teams are going to be able to do it, because again, this is a game mode where things can get very out of hand extremely quickly. If you manage to catch that checkpoint in the first 2 or 3 minutes, it is incredibly tough for your opponent to be able to come back, but they got to do it somehow. It's going to be 10 minutes of absolute glory for our last map, barring some absolute absurd tie.
Yeah, and I mean, Runesapia, it's played host both here in CGL and in OWCS to some incredible comebacks, right? Like, this really is a map that is not over until it is over, so both these teams definitely going to want to give it their all. Neither wants to make that lower bracket run, because again, to have a successful lower bracket run, that means that you are literally facing every other team in this bracket, and nobody wants to have to run that gauntlet for a trophy. They'd much rather just cruise through into the winter final, win there, and go throughout. But, it is going to be, like you said, a back and forth map here on Runesapia. More than likely, the Malga will be forced from both teams. What DPS will accompany that word with
We'll join them.
We'll join them. There you go. sometimes words are hard, but that's fine. Budget approved, already hovering Malga. If that support line walks out of spawn, I'm personally joining the server to blame every single one of them. Smelvin, though, I mean, I kind of hope this is a tease. I hope they're going to switch at the last moment, but if not, this is very all-in, again, on an off-meta look that I'm not sure is going to be the best for them. They do have the Juno in play instead of the Zen, but they are going to just continue this, Diva Tracer style. I don't know where the value is going to be found and how long these supports can live under the pressure of Budget Approved.
Megaless, this value has one name, and their name is Mori. Mori needs to be the one to shut down Ronan and Delta, and it's not an easy task, let me tell you, but it is a task that eventually has to be done here. Mori needs to stay alive, he's kind of find some value, but Robbie Hash, of all people, manages to find Ronan to get things going here as the point's going to unlock right now, running down Jacob right now, who has to run for their lives. We're just going with the Stampede. Gets Yandamori temporarily as Jacob just can't catch a breath right now. They have to keep running around as Reno doesn't want to give him even a moment away as they're going to go with a triple right there to kill the fight then and there. And Smelvin Industries already might be thinking differently than the Steve Hut.
I mean, they got the initial picks. Like you said, Mori came up big, but I mean, just losing Robbie Hash is enough to make these fights unwinnable, right? Without that main source of healing. Jacob now going to go over to the Orisa, not immediately opting into the Malga, but I've seen this matchup happen before, and it's very risky on how things are going to shake out here. Simply because, the Orisa, once you burn those cooldowns, Malga has free reign to shoot you.
I don't know how Robbie Hash gets called back quickly, and now it's running into big trouble right now in Mortality Field there. Unfortunately, it's just going to delay deaths a little bit. Elliot has managed to catch on to 2 thus far, though. Elliot kind of the sole member keeping these alive right here. Unfortunately, they're sitting on 1 health. Delta is going to force their way around. Is in pretty bad shape right now, but points getting ready to unlock here as they're going to get out. Checkpoint has been reached, and it only took less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I'm not going to count anything out with this map until it is fully done. But Smelvin now back in control at least, so even though Budget Approved is going to have the forward once they can fight forward, it seems like the rally's happening here.
Ooh, and Mori gets super low right now, gonna have to escape right now. Rough situation for both of these DPSs. Jacob, maybe not the place you quite want to be as they're gonna get pushed out of that situation. Looks like everybody a little bit of live, and here they go in, all in on the pressure. Reno gonna go in, is trying to survive, has all the support in the world, and it's all the support that they need. The point's gonna go back that checkpoint. Ronan has got a 2K, and now, even with that usage, still gonna have 3 ults on the board here, and Smelvin Industries need a fight win here so badly.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it on this competition. Like, it really is going to be about applying this Discord onto somebody and then Mori or Elliot being able to follow it up and burst them down. And I don't think Budget Approved is going to make that mistake, right? Because that's going to take a little bit of time. Whereas, they can walk forward with an Orbital Ray Death Blossom right here and now.
Yeah. That's also going to be very devastating right now. Deborah's going to help the team double down here right now. Going to find something right now. He's getting super low as Morris, only going to be able to find the one. But remember, the Swans are still going to be closer in this situation for Smelvin Industries. There's a chance for them to win a fight. It's going to be now, especially with Reno. Rough scenario, doesn't have the heals anymore. Will be taken down. And now, Cart will finally be stopped at 111 meters. Smelvin Industries still needs to win a fight, another fight to get, honestly, any meteorites whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, right? When you have those forward spawns activated, it means that there's going to be another fight at center here, guaranteed. And that's the fight you need to win just to negate forward spawn advantage that Budget Approved already has. Budget Approved only investing the Orbital Ray means they still have these DPS holds to work with here. Robbie Hash has the Transcendence to mitigate one of them, but both is going to be a completely different story.
Yeah, it depends on their usage here right now, because again, Mori needs to be the key right now. They're going to go with the Orisa that gets, bye-bye. You don't exist anymore. Good to see you, as Robbie Ash is going to use it. On the backup, basically nothing on the dive there, but Reno does go down, and now Delta needs to make a decision here whether or not to go with the ult, and I think they're going to go for it. They're debating it, but it looks like Delta realizes it's not the time and the place. Gonna pull out as Smelvin Industries finally gonna get some progress molding out after a whole 4 minutes.
Being able to isolate Reno is going to be a key factor in this matchup, making sure that Malga gets separated from their healers, because it's the only way that Reno will appear mortal on the battlefield once again here. Elliot just doing a bit of a wave, having this pulse bomb ready, could try to end a fight before it starts with a nice stick, but it is still something that has to go.
It's gonna not hit anybody, unfortunately. Misses by just a second right now. Reno's gonna go in the back line, gets sent in to to nothingness right now, and now Delta goes in, manages to pretty much solo ult Elliott in that situation, and now a retouch here is basically going to be on the back of Delta, but as things are right now, as long as Jacob lives here, they are going to get this checkpoint without any real harm, and now Smelvin Industries putting themselves back into the map.
Back into the map, but they still have a ways to go here. They're going to be pushing into a rally once again, as well as a cage fight. Granted, Jacob can sort of turn the cage fight on its head by pulling everybody on the side of Budget Approved into it here, and then maybe setting it up with a nice Deadeye from Mori.
Yeah, but if you can find at least one here, can at least find one right now, but Jacob needs to stay alive. Mori gonna use their own ult to find somebody right now, as Reno's gonna go in, unfortunately gonna find no value. You can't afford to lose anybody here. It looks like it will be a clean sweep on the fight there, and now Cart moving ahead. It could only be one more fight, potentially for them to be able to take this lead, but all they have left right now is gonna be that Transcendence.
Yeah, and they're still having to deal with this cage fight and the orbital ray on the other side, but the Smelvin's been doing very good of taking the tempo, right? Not just in terms of ults, but just being able to be the aggressors, be the ones to go first here, and that's been dictating a lot of these fights.
Yeah, he's going to set up the pulse bomb. It's not going to stick, though, so unfortunately this could all fall apart, and now you don't use anything. Not like you can use anything anymore. You need to die on this cart, make sure everybody gets the good respawn here, and now 4 minutes on the clock. Still plenty to work with here for Smelvin Industries, but this next fight, it's beginning to feel like a must-win if you don't want to let this get completely out of control.
It's going to be difficult, and I mean, a must-win situation, you know, maybe not guaranteed, but yeah, you're definitely going to want to, but Budget Approved has so much stacked up. Not having to invest anything to win that fight is so crucial here, and they're also going to have to try to catch this bot!
Oh, Reno just gets eliminated. Pulse bomb comes out, not going to get anybody, so 5v4 online here for Smelvin Industries. Everyone's going to back off instantaneously. He's going to get rid of Debrix there, and now Zekba wanted to try to escape. Unfortunately, not going to be able to do so, and now Smelvin Industries once again going to get back to that checkpoint, and now once again going to be back in one fight territory.
And this is where they want to be, right? Because, again, it's all about being the aggressors, being the initiators. If Smelvin can continue to hold forward here, this is where they've been finding the keys to success. But, yeah, this Orisa might be a little too deep.
That is way too deep for an Orisa, but Reno gets hit with the spear, and now tough spot for Zekba, and now only 3 meters away from being taken right now. And after being taken 111 to nothing, Smelvin Industries is going to take back the lead and might be only one fight away from securing this map win.
I mean, this map, it could be a full cap here. They have the tools to do it, a Terra Surge and everything like that. Budget Approved simply might not be able to leave the spawn.
Yeah, Delta's being taken care of. Deadeye is going to be there. Needs to try to find somebody, though, as they're peeking one after another. It's half and half, 3 meters left. Unfortunately, the numbers game is eventually going to play. Spoilers here right now as they're going to be taken out, but now the roles have completely swapped here. 2 minutes on the board. Budget Approved have to win a series of fights just to make it back to their original push length.
And they mirror the Orisa, right? Like, anytime Smelvin has gained an edge, like, yes, it's been the aggression, but also, you know, it's been forcing Budget Approved to think, oh, listen, they're on the better competition. We have to mirror, we have to swap. And these swaps coming through, it indicates a lot of that mindset here. Now, like you said, Budget Approved has to win a series of fights. They only have the rally to work with. Meanwhile, Smelvin just pushing.
Yeah, they're going to push in right now, trying to find something. Pulse Bomb is going to find some damage, but not going to find any kind of target. So, unfortunate scenario right now, but again, this fight, every fight from now on, is going to be so important. Unfortunately, Mori going to be caught out right there. Delta going to be directly in front of them. Knows the 44 is there. The stick's going to come through. Going to walk back as Robbie Hash is going to be forced to use the Transcendence just to stay alive. And now, he also coming to an end here. Reno has the ability to end this fight with their ultimate. They're going to use it. It's not going to get that much value, but it is going to help clean out the fight. And now it is one fight of a series of 3, maybe 4, that they're going to need to take this thing away.
And being able to take forward spawns, that's obviously step 1. But like you said, there's still a lot more to be done. Smelvin Industries now making swap of their own over to the Malga, potentially a bait and switch situation here. But Budget Approved, they're coming up on another orbital ray. Debrix is going to be someone to watch out for in this fight because this orbital ray is going to be pretty much the only ult that either team will have on time for this fight to break out.
Yeah, that's the kind of situation right now. Is 45 seconds up on the board. Mori does find a much needed pick right now. The spear not going to find its value, but it's going to be a tough game right now as Reno is going to fall down and Jacob going to help them out. Debrix does find one on the way out, but now it's going to come down to this. It is win or lose from this point on for Budget Approved. They cannot lose a single fight from here on out.
No, they cannot. And so you know, you're seeing Delta just sort of hide, waiting, lurking for their opportunity potentially. But again, this payload moving, it can't get back in front of those forward checkpoints because having to win all those fights in overtime is too much for budget approved.
And DYS has gone down. That was the one ultimate they had in their pocket ready to go. And now Deadeye's here. This could be the absolute end of everything. Elliot has found the pick right now. We see them falling apart before our very eyes. Bronan, the only person left standing to maybe get a touch. It's gonna come through, but it is not going to last all that long here. Looping back around, gonna find another, trying to buy time for them team to come through right now. They're trying to make it back as desperately as possible, but it's the 1-to-1 trickle. They're not gonna be able to take this back, and Smelvin Industries has secured their spot into the winners finals.
Regular season's one thing, but playoffs is a completely different beast, and Smelvin Industries proves that when push comes to shove, playoffs on the line, they are not here to lose. Once again, taking a 5-map victory over budget approved. You know, absolutely amazing back and forth here. Finally being able to stand up to them on, you know, some semblance of meta, right, with the Brawl. They still did it with their own style, the BAP Zen, instead of this Juno Brig that everyone's been working, but proving that they could break through it is a very, very nice touch here. And it should bode well for them, as you said, now in the winners final.
Yeah, they managed to pull that one out, and that's an incredible victory. Again, I said it is a map that can get very out of hand very quickly. We saw that 100-11 is 0 in favor of budget approved, and in perspective, it's hard to think you could pull it back in that situation. But again, you take back the momentum, you go on a massive run to be able to kind of even things out, and pushing it pretty much within, I think, like 3 meters of completion. That's an incredible thing to be able to get away with. So obviously, all the props in the world of Industries gonna move on to those winner finals. One match away from being able to go into the grand finals. Just need to win one of those two, whether that's the winners finals or the losers finals if they get dropped down. But unfortunately for budget approved, they are gonna have to run the bracket once again, having to win 3 games to be able to win the whole thing.
I don't know how, I don't know why, but I have an odd feeling these teams are gonna meet again. I don't know if it's loser final, I don't know if it'll be in the grands, but I feel like these two teams, they're destined for each other time and again, and it always produces such entertaining matches here. And while we could, you know, talk about it all day long, I'm sure the players can do a pretty damn good job of it themselves here. So if you'll give us just a moment to set up an interview, I think we're going to have Robbie Hash on the microphone to talk about how that was for Smelvin on the other side of this break.
Welcome back, everybody. We are on the other side of what was an absolutely banger of a Map 5 match between Budget Approved and Smelvin Industries. And once again, going to all 5 now, Smelvin Industries takes it away, gets to move on to the winners finals, where they'll be only one match away from securing their spot into the grand finals. And no match would be complete without a nice interview with not just one, but 2 members of the Smelvin Industries squad. We've got Robbie, Hash, and Elliot joining us today. And first and foremost, congratulations on a massive win here in the playoffs.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And obviously, you are no strangers to this budget-approved team. You have faced them 3 times before this point going into this matchup. We had the banger 5-mapper that we had back into the mid-season tournament, and you guys have gone back and forth in the regular season with a couple of 3-0s. So going into a team that you have seen so many times throughout the season, what was kind of the mentality like going into this, where you knew they were probably going to give you a really tough time?
Well, I don't know who wants to go here, me or Kieran.
You can do it, man. Sorry.
Well, I think the mentality going in was like, respect every team you play against, and obviously they've given us a tough time in like long series before, so we were cautious about how we approached the game, and so we knew that like people like Delta really like showed up today as well. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely, definitely showed up on the day here, but you know, as we went through this series, of course, there was a whole host of compositions. It seems like y'all were running and skirting from the Malga comp at points, trying to do anything you could to get away from that. Is that just sort of a team comfort situation where you guys don't feel comfortable on it, or do you guys really believe these other comps can be better?
We're playing the other comps because we don't really have somebody who plays Brig, so it kind of defeats the whole Malga comp that we don't really have a strong Brig player. So we try the other stuff to experiment around it and see what we can do.
Yeah, we're also just not really completely comfortable on the Malga comp.
Yeah, we don't really have a Malga player either. We're not really used to it.
Interesting. So that's some good insight here. But I mean, your off meta, it does certainly work on certain maps here, right? And I mean, going through on the back line, right? Like, I think the most obvious thing, right? The BAP Zen, I'm so hesitant to trust Zens nowadays. I mean, you know, this specifically goes to you, Robbie. Like, how do you actually manage on that Zenyatta hero to actually find the value with your discords without just being run over?
I just sit next to my BAP and my crew, and I hope that they don't let me die. I just play high ground, wait for their Malga to use any movement ability, and then I discord him. And he can't really do anything about it. He has to put himself in an awkward position to get the discord off him.
Wow. Beside Megalas's Zenyatta PTSD, obviously, y'all move on to the winners finals. Y'all have a matchup waiting for you. We know you're going to go against that Lunar Falcon squad, a team that within the regular season, undefeated. I mean, obviously, in a lot of people's minds, this is the favorite to go and win it, just if you're looking straight at the leaderboard, at how the scoreboard has gone previously. So, going back to that mentality, walking into this team, what's it kind of like walking this, realizing if you win this, you are going back into, or getting into the grand finals. If you lose, there's honestly a really good chance you're probably going to meet DYS once again.
So obviously they are probably favourites due to their like records in the overall season. But me personally, and this isn't anything like egotistical, I do think we're better than them. We had a few forfeits in the regular season as well, so we didn't actually manage to play every game. But I do think they're a strong team. But if we do lose to them, then yeah, I guess it is against budget approved again.
Okay, no, hey, makes sense. Obviously, something we're gonna get to see here in the coming week or two, but we'll get there when we get there. Of course, we want to let you be able to go and celebrate, but if there's anything that y'all want to say, if there's anybody you want to thank or shout out, we're going to open up the floor for you both to be able to do so, so you're free to take the floor.
Anything you want
to say? Shout out Jacob's roommate for giving him his PS5 so he could play.
Shout out Tony Martial, Raul Moat, and Paul Pot.
All right, short, sweet, to the point. You love to see it. So once again, congratulations on a big win here, and y'all are free to go, and best of luck for the rest of the playoffs.
All right,
thank you very much.
No, you take care now.
Bye-bye.
My favorite part, always throwing them out of VC forcefully.
We have to keep them out, personally.
But, I mean, yeah, that... I am here for Smelvin. Like, I know that we're supposed to be unbiased as casters, but like, they have such a good story for this. And Hunter, you and I both agreed off camera. Like, they've been in CGL for so long. Like, I'm not saying that we agree on this being their time, but like, it feels like a lot of stuff's building for them. They're off meta. It's not working all the time, but it's getting them across the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say if there was a most opportune time for them to go win the whole thing, it's gonna be right here and right now. And obviously, we don't know how that match against Lunar Falcons is gonna go. Again, we preluded to the fact that there's a very good opportunity for Budget Crew to face this team for a 5th time, and I would have to look back at the CGL record books to see how many times certain teams have played against each other in a single season, and maybe that would break the said record, but again, it's a point we're going to have to get to because Smelvin Industries, again, going to move up into those upper finals. And unfortunately for Budget Proof, again, they go down to those losers bracket, got to start up against EMC Chimera and try to work their way back. And by no means is that going to be an easy task to make it all the way back to the grand finals through the losers bracket.
No, but I mean, listen, if there's any team that could do it, is 100% budget approved. I'm sure they're going to rally, watch these tapes, and figure out exactly what they need to do here. But again, this is just EU console action, right? There's still 7 other brackets that are happening. Everything's going on. I believe there's a game scheduled for tonight. I'm not too sure. It's still, that Thanksgiving holiday, so NA is still a little bit stuffed from Turkey, so maybe not the most action in the world happening, but that's why there's still more and more CGL heading your way across these next few weeks.
Yeah, 100%. There's going to be a ton going on here. Obviously, going to see if we can set up Saturday Night Overwatch tomorrow. Obviously, again, it's holidays. People are busy. We're trying to see if we can get things set up, obviously. I mean, if y'all are following the socials, I mean, you'll know instantly if there's Saturday Night Overwatch or not. So why don't you go follow the socials right now? Why don't you go make sure you're following things here on our Twitch on top of that. And YouTube, we do have YouTube fans. People watching on YouTube. But either way, again, it's been a fantastic evening. There's a lot of amazing matches to come. And obviously, we can't do that alone, Mega Last. We had Echo doing prod for us today, as well as Orange helping out with the OBS and observing. But either way, it's been a fantastic day. We want to let y'all be able to go relax. It has been a long weekend. We need to or a long week. We want to relax this weekend. We want to take a break. So make sure y'all get some rest. Try to tune in later if we have that matchup. But if not, we hope you all have a fantastic evening.